Are you too old to get a parrot? If you're like me, you watch or learn about parrots, and one of the things you hear a lot is that parrots live 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years, and that you should think twice about getting a parrot and keep in mind that they will probably outlive you. So, what's the right age? Are you too old? Hi, welcome to my channel. If you love parrots half as much as I do, then you're in the right place. I have 18 species of parrots, including this rescue who I adopted as an adult. This is Lorenza, my yellow-naped Amazon. And I love just talking about parrots, helping you out with your parrots, and helping you have a blissful bond. I'm also the author of the Parrot Bliss Bond to help you, your handbook for you and your parrot, which is available on Amazon.com. Now, first of all, do parrots live 100 years? Not in any documented way. In other words, first of all, I don't think that we've been like watching parrots in the wild long enough to have documented it. But with predators and that kind of thing, they probably don't live as long. Now, are there exceptions? Sure. But generally speaking, do parrots really live 100 years? Generally speaking, the answer is no. In captivity, if a parrot has a really good diet and a really good environment, are they likely to live longer? Yes, of course, that's true. We've noticed that, we've observed that as a society with other animals as well. When there's no predators, there's no threat of running out of food, those kinds of things, then any animal in captivity can live longer. Parrots. Now, generally speaking, what we're going to say is that the smaller the parrot, the shorter their lifespan, the larger the parrot, the longer they live. And it's true, for example, macaws, they tend to live some of the longest, the big cockatoos. And even the back, you've got the lovely back. There's the front, there's the head. Even Amazon parrots and African greys, they are going to have a lifespan of, people say 50, 60, 70, and I have heard people say that their Amazon is 90 years old. I just don't know exactly how reliable that is, because the person's not 90 years old, and how do they really know? So I want you to, I'm not saying that that's wrong or anything like that. I want you to take it with a grain of salt. Here's the thing I want you to consider when you are thinking about whether or not you are too old for a parrot. What I want you to consider is that, first of all, no one lives forever. Unfortunately, parrots are like people. Sometimes they catch something, and I take my parrots to the vet, and I'm like, how in the world did they get this? And my vet's like, Clostridium's just in the air. And I'm like, that can't be. I can't. What am I going to do? I have air purifiers. I have several HEPA filters in my house. What can I possibly do? What more can I do? I, keep their cage clean. I feed them a healthy diet. The air's being cleaned. What else? They've got the UV light. What else can I possibly do? And my vet's like, nothing. Some of it is just life. So I want you to consider that a parrot doesn't necessarily have a guarantee that they are going to outlive you. And you don't have a guarantee that you're going to outlive them. I want you to consider that you really don't know. You don't know anything. How, anything as far as how long you or your parrot are going to live, because something could happen to either of you. You could get a young parrot that's got 90 years ahead of them as far as you can tell, and you free fly them and something happens and that's the end. There are predator birds out there watching and waiting sometimes because they know what a domestic parrot is like, and they're hungry, because they don't have someone just feeding them at home the way our birds do. So as far as that goes, let's say that we don't really want to say that a bird's going to live for any amount of time, because we don't really know, and we also don't want to assume how long we are or aren't going to live. mind you, I'm not saying that you should completely disregard the fact that a parrot is going to, if they're healthy, chances are they are going to live at least several decades. 30, 40, maybe yes, 50. It could be more than that. It could be. I do want you to consider that. I just don't think that that should be everything that makes up your decision. Now, if you are not a young whippersnapper, if you're not in your 20s or something like that, and you don't feel like you can give a bird, maybe 60 years, then what do? Well, if you want to take, ages into account and the general lifespan of a bird, then consider adopting a parrot. That way, you might be swayed in feeling like this bird wouldn't otherwise have a home. Maybe you can really provide a good home for whatever time you've got, because you don't know how much time you've got, right? Like, isn't it better though to give a bird a year, 20 years than none? And maybe some people will argue with me that a year, it's not that much better, and that the parrot, they keep getting rehomed. Because I do think that we should all acknowledge that. I don't like that they get rehomed. I think that's horrible. I think there are some circumstances where it may be important to rehome a parrot, but on average, some of our parrots do go through several homes, and that's traumatic for them. It's not natural. It's not the way it should be. I don't like it. I am not promoting it. Don't get me wrong. But do I think that it's better for a parrot to get a home, a good, loving home where they're taken care of for a while versus staying in a rescue? Yes, I do think it's better. And it's temporary, and they might end up back at the rescue. Yeah, I know. I understand. And man, I can't think of something that sucks more. Well, I can, but you know what I mean. But do I still think that it's better for a parrot to have some good life? Yes. It's kind of like Shakespeare's, is it better to have loved and lost than to never have loved at all? Yes, it is better to have experienced love. Absolutely. If you ask me, love feeds and nourishes your soul, and I think their souls as well. So is it good to give some soul nourishing love, attention, companionship, which goes both ways, by the way? It's a two-way street when you bond with a parrot. Do I think that's better than a parrot being in a rescue where, rescues are overwhelmed, overworked, underfunded, and they're, they're doing their best, but they can't afford the time and attention. They just can't. They're not one-on-one or one-on-two or however many parrots you might have at home. But can you give your rescue parrot more time and attention? Absolutely. So this video is sparked by the fact that someone in my Facebook group at Parrot Bliss Flock, please come join us if you love parrots half as much as I do, and you want to learn about parrots and you want to really be in a nice parrot community. I'm trying to really grow a nice community where we connect, and we're all like feathered instead of like-minded people. So one of my members saw my video on My Hans Macaw. My Hans Macaw was surrendered to us, and she has been here ever since. And My Hans Macaw is just awesome, and I think she inspires people to want a Hans Macaw. I can't say what Hans Macaws in general are like. I could say what she's like. She's fantastic. She's really fantastic. You watch her and you're like, okay, I want one of those, because she's so fantastic. She's a great size. She talks. She's sweet. She's well behaved. And so one of my members went, kudos to you, and adopted a Hans Macaw at a rescue, at his local rescue. And I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to straight out tell you that he said the previous owners weren't young, but they were able to give the bird 14 years. And so it was 14 loving years, and this bird is great and sweet and loving. Now, unfortunately, parrots at rescues aren't always like that, because a lot of times they haven't received that love, and they need the love. But in this case, she got the love. And I'm going to straight out tell you that obviously the previous owners weren't young, and honestly, he's not either. And honestly, I'm not in my 20s anymore either. I'm not in my 30s. So does that mean that we shouldn't have parrots? No, not at all. I gave Lorenza a home. I don't know how many years she has. If I had a crystal ball, maybe I could find out how many years I have. It is getting to be that Halloween time of year. I need a crystal ball to sit there and tell me how many years we each have so that I know who I need to make plans for after one of us is gone. Do I make plans for her or do I make plans for me? Because what am I going to do when she's gone? I would be devastated. What is she going to do? What would she do if I was gone? She'll be devastated. But it is a two-way street, and I kind of feel like you need to take everything into consideration and weigh it all. But I really don't like when people who feel that they're older completely close the door to a parrot because they're older. I mean, if you feel like you can't take care of a parrot, by all means, it's not a good choice. Because these are high maintenance creatures and companions that really require a lot of time and attention. No way around that. But if not, is this a fabulous companion if you have the time and the energy? And I'm going to be stereotypical, totally generalizing. I know there are exceptions. It's just not always true. But oftentimes, when you're not young, you have more patience because life's already beat patience into you. You have more experience because life's already beat you up, down, to the right, to the left, and you have more experience. And so it can be said that when you're not as young, you're more patient, and in that sense, you might be a little easier on a parrot. Does that mean young people aren't? No, that's not what I'm saying. Please don't misread anything that I'm saying. What I am trying to say is that there are pros and cons. If you are young and you have a parrot, you have the ability to give them more years. If you are older and you get a parrot, you might have the ability probably to give them more love and patience. And I think patience is a really, really beneficial thing when it comes to parrots that bite. My next video is going to be on how parrots are like vampires, because I've been wanting to do a biting video again because I've had a couple people ask about that. Anyway, my point is, if you are feeling like you're not super young, you're not a spring chicken, but you'd like a parrot, if you feel like you can take on all of the work that they are, fresh vegetables every day, cleaning up after them, man, a lot of cleaning. Hens macaws don't require quite as much cleaning. But if you feel like you can really extend that and you want a real companion, I have a friend visiting, she's like, they're not like cats and dogs. They're like, they really relate at a different level. They're real, like, companions, and I think it's because their intellectual ability, in a way, matches ours more. So they're a lot more like your buddy kind of thing. So if that's all sounding like it's right for you, don't let your age stop you. Don't let the age of a parrot stop you. A young parrot, an older parrot, you know, make the decision that you feel is best for yourself and for the parrot, granted. And consider rescuing. It's a wonderful thing. I've done it. I've done it several times. Some of my African greys, I don't come near them without a stick because they're vampires. I adopted them. They're vampires. It's never going to be this lovey-dovey, connected, mwah-mwah thing like it is with her. But it is that way with her. So sometimes you hit the lottery. Sometimes you have a great companion who will talk to you and keep you company, even if you can't pet them. Consider all the possibilities. Consider the fact that you could wind up with a bird that you can't pet. And do your research, because there are some species that are more affectionate and more loving than other species. For example, African greys, they can be very loving, but that's not really their forte. Whereas the conure family, they can be really loud. African greys are pretty darn quiet, other than their talking. Conures can be pretty darn loud, but they can be pretty darn affectionate. So really do your research. If you're looking in a rescue, the 3 species that get rehomed the most that you're most likely to find are macaws, African greys, and Amazons. Now, one reason Amazons are rehomed, Lorenza is not illustrating. It's not because they poop, they all poop. She just pooped on me. I'll go wash my wrist in a minute. But the number one reason they're rehomed, along with cockatoos, which aren't in the top 3, but they're really up there. Or, sorry, no, they are there. Is because they are so loud. So, before you do get a bird like that, regardless of your age or the parrot's age, make sure that you have like either a big enough home or a private enough backyard where you can have an aviary and you can let them do their walking outside and give you a little piece, give them the ability to be a parrot, and then let you come together and really enjoy them. So do your research, because making sure that you have a good match is just far more important I think, than making your choice based on your age or the parrot's age. Age isn't everything. It should be considered, but it shouldn't be a determining factor. Making sure that things match, I think, is a far more important factor. And for this holiday season, you know, one of the things that happens, is that people, they have a hard time sometimes during the holiday season. This is a time of year where people can easily get depressed. And some of our times are getting tough. And so if you've got any of that going on and you need a companion, consider a parrot. Consider any kind of parrot, whether it is a rescue or not, because I strongly believe that making a good match and finding the right parrot for you is what's most important. Whether she had been a rescue or a baby, she is just like my feather bird mate. And I could say I have more than one, but she's like my most match bird, and I adore her. And don't get me wrong, because my golden conure is like, I'm over the moon over her. And they aren't the only ones. I love my Cape parrots too. But Lorenza's personality just clicks the most with me. She and I are just like on the same wavelength. And I just can't tell you enough about making sure that you have the right match and really feeling good, because then chances are you're both going to live longer anyway. Because when people smile and have friends and enjoy themselves more, they extend their life anyway. So keep all of that in mind and make the right choice for you, the best choice for you, instead of making a choice that has to do with like what other people say about age or things like that. Really base the decision on you. Visit the bird that you're looking at getting as much as you can and make sure that it's a good match, because that's the best guarantee that you're both going to have some wonderful, wonderful years, and I hope it's decades and decades together. Thank you for joining me in this blissful video. If your parrot is a rescue or any other parrot and is stressed out, be sure to get Tink's must-have CBD in hemp oil parrot relief on parrotbliss.com, because it can help restore balance, it can help calm, it's really good for joints, it's really good for birds who have been fed seeds before you adopted them and whose bodies have gotten a little screwed up, their bones, their arteries. It can be very beneficial. Parrotbliss.com. Thank you for joining me. Please comment or post questions below, and I will join you in the next spooky 'tis the season of Halloween video. Thanks, and I'll catch you next time.